Hello and welcome to the Portadown Preview Show. This week I am joined by, once again, Jonny the King Dunlop. Jonny, how are you?
I am not too bad, Nate. Are you?
Yeah, so. Before we go any further, don't forget to like and subscribe to We Are Ports TV YouTube channel, and you can find us on a variety of different platforms: Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, etc., etc. Right, we'll dive straight into this. Saturday, this sort of feels like episode 2, so to speak, because last week it was me and you as well did the last show, and obviously we're doing this one. So it just sort of feels like a continuation on. We were going into a big game at the weekend there against Warrenpoint. I know it's an cliche when it comes into this part of the season that every game's a cup final. It certainly felt that way going into that game. Coming out of that game, it felt very disappointing as we lost at home 1-0 to Warrenpoint, courtesy of a Keelan Dillon penalty. I think it was a very disappointing day all round. Jonny, what's your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I would echo that. I have to say, I was gutted. I think, we were coming off the back of a couple of good results. So we had the guts of a fortnight's break with the way the fixtures fell. And I was a bit worried at the time, thinking, as that break came at the wrong time, we had got a bit of momentum behind us and stuff. So maybe turned out that way. I thought it was a real massive game. A win relegated Warrenpoint, kept our good run going, kept us on the heels of Carrick. But it just wasn't to be. It was a game reminded me a lot of the Boxing Day game against Glenavon, where we just dominated the game, had most of the possession, but just seemed to lack that creativity or spark in the final third. I can't really think of any clear-cut chances. We were joking because I was on Twitter duty. We looked at my tweets in the second half, and I think my tweets were literally just the substitutions, because they're literally, bar us having the possession, we didn't create anything. Warrenpoint didn't create anything. I think with them getting the early goal, they were just able to sit in and just frustrate us, but they put 10 men behind the ball and just invite us onto them and try and break them down. But we didn't do that. Really, really disappointing. Day all round. Went in with big expectations, but unfortunately it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, you're completely right. Anyway, moving on. This week we take on. No, I'm really joking. No, listen, I think it was always going to be to me personally, it was always going to be a case of that. Oh, bear with me a second. The dog is making funny noises here. Sorry. Definitely one of the most bizarre things that ever happened in a podcast. The dog sleeping there and just making funny noises. I think they were dreaming. But anyway, they were dreaming about.
If that had happened in the second half of the match on Saturday night, it would have been included in the Twitter updates. That's how exciting the second half was on Saturday.
Would have been on the highlights.
It would have been on the highlights.
Well, I said, yeah, listen, I think it was always a case of we have been doing so well, and that if a bad result did happen, I think a lot of people would have been disappointed. I think, I don't want to say people got carried away, because it wasn't even a case of getting carried away, because they actually were on such a really good run. And I think because he lost to Warrenpoint, and I don't, no disrespect to Warrenpoint, I think had it been anybody else, you'd have been like,
yeah,
okay. But because Warrenpoint are rock bottom, so to speak, I think that's what maybe made people a lot more disappointed. But again, Warrenpoint, to me, they're not a bad side. Like, I don't really think there's anybody it's particularly bad. It's just they're just the weakest of all the teams. League table doesn't lie, in my opinion. Like, so I think that's why people were disappointed. But listen, it's done. Since Paul Doolan's come in, we've looked a lot more organised. And to be fair, it's like you said, it wasn't a case of like Warrenpoint were absolutely battering us. Like, I mean, we were defensively, sound, but it was just a case of they got a penalty and they scored it. That was literally the difference. So I think people have got to remember as well at the same time, yes, it was a disappointing result, but since Paul Doolan's come in, we've not conceded anywhere near as many goals and stuff. And we're still in with a chance of getting 10th. So just need to knuckle down, have a rattle at these games coming up here, and hope for the best. Probably need a couple of favours as well on the way now. It's not in our hands anymore. It was before, obviously. But with Carrick now beating Dungannon are now dragged back into it, but there's 4 points between us and Carrick and Dungannon. So who knows? But I wouldn't be throwing the towel in just yet, because there is still the opportunity. But to right that wrong, we take on Ballymena United this weekend, an away trip to the Ballymena Showgrounds. Not a happy hunting ground for Portadown for a long time, to be perfectly honest. We don't do particularly well there. They're on the back of a disappointing result as well. They obviously lost to Glenavon on Saturday, and they're still in the chance to get 7th, albeit they're in the Irish Cup semi-final. You'd expect them, in theory, to get to the final. If they're playing championship opposition, again, we don't know, which we talked about in the last show. Glentoran are obviously pushing this even further, so they don't know who they'll be playing. But if they're playing Newry, no disrespect to Newry, Ballymena go into that as massive favourites. Will they have an eye on that semi-final? Will they rest players? Who knows? What's your thoughts going into Saturday then?
It's been, like you said, it hasn't been a happy hunting ground. I think the last time we won up in Ballymena was 2016, last game of the season, under Pat McGibbon, when we won 2-0. Ken Oman and I think Matty Parker scored, and I think we've been up there 5 or 6 times since that, and I've always come out on the wrong side of the result. But you say, we need to have a wee bit of belief and a bit of confidence, and Saturday, I suppose, is one of those games where you just have to go and have a go. Ballymena may well have one eye on the Irish Cup semi-final, but they'll also want to still be pushing for that European playoff spot as well. I'd like to see, I don't know, George. Funny enough, we were singing the praises of George Tipton on last week's show, and he went off injured early doors on Saturday, and I think that really affected the game. So I hope, I haven't heard any update on the injury. Paul plays these sorts of things close to his chest, so I don't know if George will play on Saturday. But maybe Paul will mix it up. I'd like to see maybe Elliot Dugan maybe get a shot up front alongside Adam Solly. Mashingo Cadlega came on as a substitute on Saturday, and I thought he was maybe one of the few that come out with a wee bit of credit in the bank from Saturday's game. I thought he done well when he came on, so he may well start as well. But it'll be a tough game. It's added that last Saturday's results added that extra little bit of pressure going down there on Saturday. But listen, we'll have to have the hope and have the belief and hope we can get something.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Ballymena on Saturday here. Then we have Dungannon Swifts at home on Easter Tuesday. And then we'll have Glenavon away next Saturday. Now, folks, for anyone that's listening or watching, this is, I'm going to bill this as Easter Bonanza or something like that, because you're getting 3 games for usually we say the price of 1 or price of 2, but you're getting 3 this time. So we're including next week's preview show as part of this one as well. So as I said, we've got Dungannon next week on the Tuesday, and then we'll have Glenavon away on the following Saturday. So without even necessarily looking at those 2 teams specifically in order and like that, what's your, out of these 3 games, I'll put you on the spot. Out of these 3 games, if Portadown are to avoid the playoff, I'm sorry, and this is put this crystal clear, to avoid relegation as well, because we are not mathematically safe yet. Let's just say that right now. I don't want to be accused of being overconfident, complacent, or even arrogant. So we're not safe yet. But if you were looking up, and out of these next 3 games, forget about the Carrick game on the last day of the season, but the next 3 games coming up here over the next week and a bit, how many points do Portadown need to get to have a realistic shot of jumping Carrick or Dungannon?
I think they need at least 3, to be honest. They need to be beating Dungannon Swifts. You like you'd like to be getting 5, but I think maybe that's a that's going to Ballymena and going to Glenavon and nicking points there, which I can't see us doing, I'm afraid. I think we need to be beating Dungannon. You need to be beating those teams in and around you. You need to be beating Dungannon Swifts. I think if there's no point going to beating Ballymena on Saturday and then losing to Dungannon Swifts. So to keep ourselves in with a shout, I think at the minimum 3 points, I think, to be honest with you.
Right, okay. I was going to say, I think they need to get at least 4, personally. But you never know. You never know. Listen, it's still all to play for. As you say, if you were to get a result next Tuesday, nick a point in one of the away games and win your last game, and maybe a result goes our favour, because to be fair, Carrick's record against Warrenpoint this season is dreadful. So, but then you run the risk of, do Warrenpoint beat Carrick, and if we don't get a win, then suddenly it's, do you know what I mean? It's squeaky bum time there as well. But listen, who knows? We can only focus on ourselves. With Dungannon, they've been praised quite a lot this season, whereas I feel like Portadown, Carrick, Warrenpoint have been battered quite a bit, to be perfectly honest. And Carrick have received a fair share of it recently because they have tailed off dramatically, even though they had a great start. Do you think Dungannon get a wee bit of leeway because they play good football, supposedly, but they concede an absolutely astronomical amount of goals? So there's a chink in the armour there. So, is it a bit harsh the way Portadown and Carrick and Warrenpoint are labelled a wee bit, and Warrenpoint or Dungannon are now the same points, and around the same kind of area and stuff? They're praised, but the other teams get slagged off quite a bit.
I think you're right in what you said there about playing the nice football. Dungannon Swifts got a lot of praise last year for playing lovely football, and I think I maybe have said to other people this year, of all the teams that have come to Shamrock Park this season, when Dungannon beat us 4-1 there real early in the season, they played probably the best football I've seen an away team play at Shamrock Park this season. They absolutely tore us apart. But back to what you said earlier on too, the league table doesn't lie either. Swift, when I look at Dungannon and Carrick, both sides have splashed the cash in the summer for a team in their position and brought in big players. Swifts paid good money for Declan Dunn. They also brought in Gary Breen from Cliftonville. They brought in Machito, is he the ex-Rangers?
Yeah.
Central defender there as well. Carrick brought in, David Cushley. They brought in Ben Tilney as well. Those two teams brought in decent Irish League players. And I do think, when you look at the Portadown's and Warrenpoint's transfer business, in the summer and all, they weren't bringing in that level of player. So I do think, especially in Dungannon, they do seem to get away a bit with being criticised, just because they do play lovely football. But at the end of the day, it's a results business. I would take Portadown playing rubbish football every Saturday and be sitting 7th, rather than playing beautiful football and still not being safe. You know what I mean? So I do think that they do tend to get a wee bit of a ball from the journalists and what have you out there.
Well, Dungannon play Glenavon this weekend. Now, Glenavon don't have the European place sold up just yet, so obviously you'll be wanting Glenavon to do us a favour. And if we were to get a result of some description at Ballymena, and then if you'd have beat Dungannon next week.
And they had Declan Dunn sent off on last time out, so I don't know what way their goalkeeper position is.
Did you see that?
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh dear, I have. I have not even get into it. But did you see the video from Taylor's Avenue that was cut by their media team, and it went viral? Like it's
Is
white up
that
something.
Dame James is going buck daft about something? Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. But I mean, I don't want to like hype it up too much, but next Tuesday could be massive. Like,
Yeah.
so it could be, it is massive. So
I think if we can get the results, if we beat them, I'm going to make a bold prediction. If we can beat Dungannon Swifts and beat Carrick, I think we will get that 10th position.
it's certainly all to play for, and that's the thing. I think I
Yeah.
know there was quite a lot of abject faces and stuff after the game on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday,
it was
disappointing.
but yeah,
but
I think it's not like the nail in the coffin, so to speak. Because there is still plenty of games. 4 games left. To try and salvage it. Like, so let's wait and see.
I just hope it's a wake up call. Was there a bit of complacency had crept in a wee bit there? We had those good results. Did some of the players take their foot off the pedal a wee bit? Because they had those good results. Maybe not to say they thought maybe just had to turn up and that was it because it was a Warrenpoint. But I just hope it. That's maybe that kick up the ass that the players need. These are for the club and the players. These are massive 4 games. Not only for the for the club but for the players as well. For the players' futures at the club, for new contracts, for everything like that. It's all dependent on where Portadown play their football next season. If God forbid, touch wood, was stay up, but if you go down, the club will have to cut its cloth accordingly. So just hope that the players fully take on board just how important these next 4 games are.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Glenavon then next Saturday. Obviously, listen, I don't really think we need to touch on that too much. Like I said, they're going for the European positions. It's a Mid-Ulster derby. There's always spice. There's always beef. Do you know what I mean? I'd expect to see him next weekend as well.
Yeah. I don't think it'll matter if Glenavon have the European place tied up or not. They'll still want to put one over on us. Some people might think they might want to take a bit of sympathy on us. They're Mid-Ulster rivals, and maybe they'll want a Boxing Day game against Portadown rather than a Boxing Day game against Newry. I don't know. But listen, it is what it is. Difficult place to go. It's if you get a point, I think it'll be a good result. You do maybe look on the other side of things. If Glenavon do have the European places sewed up by then, will they maybe look at resting players and so forth before they go into the playoffs? But we've said that before. And even when teams have rest, things we've been given, they've given us a game, and beaten us even. So,
well, this is like you say, this is the thing, and because that game is, so we're recording this on Thursday night, so that game is 9 days away essentially. A lot can change between now and then. Each team has 2 games, so like you say, Glenavon might have it sewed up, they might not. Who knows? But it's a Mid-Ulster derby, and yourself. It don't even. It's set up.
Talking about that, I was waiting on a phone call on Saturday night. Were we the only ones around Mid-Ulster that didn't get offered a 4-year contract over the weekend?
Jonny, you ruined the queue. I was going to mention that because remember last week I was saying about I get really annoyed about how, even though I don't follow them, like certain things come up on my Twitter just because of mutual interest. And all that was coming up on my Twitter last weekend was Glenavon have offered this person who kind of such and such a signed new contract. And I'm just like, I don't care about Glenavon. Why are you appearing on my Twitter feed? Like, that's what kept coming up. I don't follow them and I don't like them. And it's like, go away.
I thought maybe when Glenavon were doing up their paperwork for these new contracts, all the keys had fallen off their laptop and only had the 4 left because everybody just seemed to be getting 4-year contracts. 4-year contract for you, 4-year contract for you, 4-year contract for you.
Yeah. But you know what? It's smart business for them. And from them, do you know, they get tie those players down, because one of their players that I've actually been really impressed with when, you know, since he signed, and obviously seeing Portadown playing, Danny Wallace, I think he's been excellent for them, and I see he was one of the ones that signed a contract extension. So
Peter Campbell as well, as even though he likes to go to Portadown supporters, I think he's been a great signing, you know, for them.
He has. But that's the thing. Do you know, I laugh at that. You know, I know he does like going to Portadown fans, and but you see, to me, like that doesn't bother me. Like, I know it's the same at like all football clubs at whatever level, that, you know, you'll get your fans will get wound up by certain players doing things and goading them and all. But I think that's part and parcel, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest that he does it. Do you know what I mean?
And you see, at the end of the day, if you're going to give out a bit of stick, you've got to take it as well.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah.
You know,
no, I
sometimes I see at all levels of football, you'll see supporters and they'll give a player stick, and the player sometimes turns around and looks at them the wrong way. They're up in arms. Like, you know, if you're going to give it, you've got to take it. I think he's a great player. He was a Portadown, I think, as a the youth teams and stuff. You know, he came up through Portadown before he went to the goal. But I think he's really impressed me, and I think, you know, maybe those Glenavon is following the example set by Portadown last summer. You know, they tied down Lee Bonus to a 5-year contract, which means if anybody came knocking on the door for them, had to pay a big amount of money, as Lauren did. So maybe that's behind Glenavon's thinking as well.
Perhaps, but we shall wait and see in eager anticipation as to what happens then next week. But of course, we've got 2 big games before that. Before we go, Jonny, do you want to speak about the end of season 2?
Yeah, we're having, after, I'm trying to think, 2 years, I think it's been since we've had an end of season dinner.
3.
So 3
like
years, is it?
Do you mean like a proper end of season 2 where it's like inside and all?
Yes, you're probably right. It's so end of season dinner in the Seagull Hotel on Saturday, the 14th of May. Hopefully, we'll have Premiership football to celebrate. We'll not see him anyway. Hall of Fame. So going in this year, we have Vinnie Arkins, and then we also have Kevin McKeever and Davy Mills. So we're really excited and proud to be able to induct those 3 legendary players into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, you know, Kevin and Davy have passed away, so their families will be attended on the night. Davy and Kevin were part of an iconic Portadown team that won the league title for the first time in 1990 in the double winning team. Vinnie Arkins, you know, just doesn't need any introduction. We all know Vinnie's background, so no, we're delighted to have them. So tickets are now on sale on the Portadown website, portadownfc.co.uk. So get on there and get your tickets. So it's hopefully be a brilliant night, and there'll be a good crowd in attendance to welcome those 3 players into the Portadown Hall of Fame.
Indeed. I'm really looking forward to that. As we've discussed before on the show, Vinny's my favourite ever Portadown player, and, you know, richly deserved for all 3 to be going in. So it promises to be a good night. The drinks are on you, Jonny. And folks, before I go, I'm supposing I don't even have it, you know, damn shame, I'm getting the bag and bowl out. So I'm doing the Belfast Marathon in few weeks, and I'm running it for Autism NI. So Jonny has obviously kindly agreed that he's going to fire the link up on the Portadown's Twitter for me and stuff. So like I said, I'm doing that for Autism NI, and if you would like to make a donation, no matter how big, it would be greatly appreciated, as it's a great charity and they do some fantastic work. And yeah, that's it, I think. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Jonny, will we?
Seems like a good place to end it now.
It does indeed. So as always, folks, thank you for watching and listening. Like I said, don't forget to like, whoa, tongue tied again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to We Are Ports TV YouTube channel, and you can find us on a variety of different platforms. And yeah, so 3 games coming up. Actually, what plans have you got? Take minus the football. Have you got anything lined up for Easter?
I don't, but I'm sure my good lady wife will have some plans ready. The kids have been off school for a week, so I'm off next week. So I'm sure we'll do something fun and exciting. Neil. Plenty of Easter eggs to be eaten anyway.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Anyhow, right, as I said, hopefully we'll get the results we're really looking for, and we shall be back, not next week, but it'll be the week after then, before the game against Carrick Rangers. So, like I said, hopefully Portadown can do the biz, and happy Easter, folks. Take care. Cheerio.